I made a tiny player in college football 25, and he only has 4 years to become the best player ever. Now, standing at 29 inches tall, it's not likely that this will go well, and it'll probably just break the game more than it already is. But meet Kenyon Garnett, the 2-star that hasn't grown since he was 6. He could transfer, but in this first year, he'll be playing for Louisiana Tech. And the only rule is he will always get to be the starting QB. Beginning his career at LSU, I just can't imagine this going well. And I'm not allowed to control him, only watching him play with you all. Look at him out there on the field. He is so much tinier than everybody else. He is going for a pass on his first play though, and it's completed. Somehow on this first drive, he's had no issues leading us down the field. And if he actually throws for a touchdown against LSU, that would be crazy, but he's just handing it off. 3rd and goal. Louisiana Tech again is running the ball, but they're going to get in, I think, so that counts. So his debut started well, and by the 4th quarter, Louisiana Tech's only down by 3 trying to score. Kenyon Garnett might only be a 70 overall, but he is able to complete passes. And who would have thought that this tiny little player could have a bright future as he takes it into the end zone? That's his first rushing touchdown. He looks so cute out there on the field. And how do you give up a touchdown like that to such a tiny quarterback? The ball is literally like a third of his size. The issue is the Tigers have responded with a touchdown, so he's gonna have to come up clutch on this 3rd and 9. And ever since that moment, the Bulldogs have been behind. Though with a minute left, they're only trailing by 7. He's trying to beat them deep. And whether or not he pulls off the upset all comes down to this final play. It is 4th and 10. But LSU is going to pick him off, and that's unfortunate. He almost had a crazy start to his career. This video might end up going better than I thought, though, just based off of this game. And I'm excited to see how the rest of Kenyon Garnett's freshman year goes. Interestingly enough, there's a lot of players that want to transfer out from having him as their quarterback. So throughout his career in this video, we might enter the portal a couple of times. We'll end up seeing these are the skill caps that he's going to be stuck with. And since I'm the coach, I'm allowed to control recruiting and every other aspect that goes on besides actually playing the games. I'm doing my best to try and set him up with some better receiving targets. And if we ever need to boost up his stats or how fast he develops, we could unlock this motivator branch. As much as I'd love to dive into this already, I think it could be more beneficial to try and find him some receiving targets like we're going after and being able to put more hours on them. This video concept's kind of like a 4-year rebuild around this player's career, but I can't ever play a snap. And I've never done something like this before, so like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Heading into game number 2, we're facing off against one of our rivals, Southern Miss, and I wonder if the fans in the crowd can even spot our quarterback. I feel like he hasn't shown up that much in this game. We're stuck on a 3rd and 8 to begin this 4th quarter. We're not getting it. And we're also going to have to watch our defense sometimes because if they can't get stops, then we're not getting the ball back. Down by 8's not a great spot to be, but after getting it back, we've driven down the field. The read option almost worked. And Kenyon Garnett is just too tiny to put it in himself, but he threw for a touchdown. I was doubting him going into this whole thing, but I'm starting to think he could have a pretty good career with the 2-point conversion. Our running back punches it in. By the time there's about a minute and a half left, it is still a tie game. So Kenyon Garnett could pick up his first win as a quarterback, as on 3rd and 10, he's moving the chains. I am really rooting for the little guy. We'll see if he's able to get this one out quick enough, and they almost picked it. I almost feel bad for the defensive end that's going after him. He pretty much just took a crotch shot. But it looks like the little fella can actually put some zip on the football. And I think Louisiana Tech's just going to run out the rest of the clock to settle for 3. The Bulldogs might have done it, though they're running play action on 3rd down, and it's caught for a touchdown. Now that does give Southern Miss a bit of time to respond. But the defense is holding on tight. Here on 4th and 7, they're taking a sack. And that means Kenyon Garnett has gotten his first win. Over the course of this season, I'm expecting things to eventually go wrong. But who knows? Maybe he's about to get a road win at Tulsa too. With a couple minutes left, it's really all on the defense to hang on. It doesn't even have to do with him. And here we go. 3rd and 8. Their quarterback is going to try and throw it on the run, which is caught. He might have to come in for a game-winning drive here, depending on how the rest of this drive goes. And this is a lot less stressful on my part. All I have to do is spectate. I don't have to make good reads or get defensive stops. I enjoy seeing how college football games play out on here. They're going to also complete this pass. And there's just 45 seconds left now, but it's looking like Tulsa's about to get into the end zone. Whether or not they get this 2-point conversion, though, is a very big deal. And here we go. 38 seconds for Kenyon Garnett to lead this team into field goal range. He didn't take a sack, but he was sure close to doing so there. And I wonder how he's even throwing over the offensive line. As I'm saying that, they get a pick for a touchdown. Now there's a flag on the play. I'm not sure what it is. Roughing the quarterback. You can't hit the little man. And we got to see if this was a legit penalty flag or not. He missed it into his offensive lineman. They shoved him over and jumped on top of him, and they're choking his neck. This is such a flag. If you're an offensive lineman, you can't let your quarterback get touched like that. That was actually crazy. He was getting choked out mid-game. He's going nowhere. But all he has to do is get this team into field goal range. Plenty of time in the pocket right here, and it's off of the line again. This This is worse than a Kyler Murray simulator. I'm not sure what's even going on at this point. But the first down's been picked up 14 seconds now, and that was a bad read. Just 10 seconds after that play, it took 4 seconds off of the clock. The drag might get Louisiana Tech into field goal range though. And the Bulldogs have sent the kicker out there. He is going to go for it, and Louisiana Tech goes to 2-1. Now, Kenyon Garnett looks like a normal-sized player in this clip somehow, but his growth is still stunted, I promise. And I do find it kind of crazy that as a 70 overall quarterback, he's playing this well. He hasn't even improved anything yet. For all I know, we could encourage him to transfer at the end of the season, and he could be in a Power 4 conference going into his sophomore year. But I'm already noticing something that's broken with this file because of what we're doing. UTEP's logo is just fully disappeared. I'm not going to be surprised if other things break along the way. I didn't even know Louisiana Tech had baby blue jerseys, but they might not even win in them in this debut. Western Kentucky has it with 20 seconds left, and they have thrown it straight to the DB. Louisiana Tech finds another way to come out on top in a close game. I find it so funny every time he goes out there to kneel it, because you can barely see him, but that's a good win. It wasn't his best performance though. These stats don't look great. So he's very lucky the Bulldogs defense had a defensive player of the week. So far in recruiting, I did lose out on a 4-star at LSU, but I also signed a 4-star. I might be able to get a couple others, and then the 3 stars are also coming in. I'm still not sure if any of that's gonna matter. The idea of transferring after a good season is super appealing, but if we do that, where he ends up is completely out of my control. It's fully random, so he could play for a worse program. Before this game, I thought Louisiana Tech was actually doing really well, but Sam Houston came out, won 38-13, and there was nothing interesting to see. He struggled with 2 interceptions. Both of these 4 stars were actually on a visit for that Sam Houston game, so it could end up costing their commitment to the school, and I'm not sure if he can redeem himself at Oregon State. The Beavers aren't a bad team. I'm sure that there's going to be a decent crowd at this game, and that's because they all want to see our little guy in action, though our defense has struggled a ton. They've given up 47 points. So that means Oregon State is going to demolish Louisiana Tech. I had a feeling that Kenyon Garnett was about to regress. He keeps on turning it over a bunch. But the team as a whole has 2, so maybe our goal should be to make a bowl. All it takes is another loss, and the conference championship is probably out of reach, but winning 3 more games isn't. And I'm proud to say that both 4-star Leonard Wilkins and 4-star Russ Braun have committed to Louisiana Tech. I'm not going to sit here and act like this class is going to be amazing, but some of these athletes could go up a bit when we move them to a different position. And let's see how this one on the road at Jacksonville State ends up going. Well, with about a minute left, it is a 3-point game. The Bulldogs have the ball, but sometimes it's hard to throw it accurately whenever your hands can barely grip onto the ball, though this is a wide open receiver, and Louisiana Tech is about to go up by 4 points. What a dart from Kenyon Garnett, and I'm hoping the Bulldogs defense is able to get a stop against their quarterback. He's able to complete the pass, but only for 8. It's not like Zion Turner's played well in this game. He has 110 passing yards, no turnovers, but this is also going to be caught. And Jacksonville State's getting up to the line a little quicker than I would like as they keep on moving. No use of their 2 timeouts is a little bit crazy though. Now they're down to just 20 seconds left in this game. And this is the Louisiana Tech defense we saw through those first few matchups. 4th and 14, 14 seconds left. I don't see a world where they're able to complete this, but they went for the deep shot and it's held onto. All of a sudden, Jacksonville State is not out of this game. Zion Turner with a clean pocket throws it to the sideline, but the throw was not in bounds. This is the final play. All the Bulldogs defense has to do is swat this ball down, and that works as well. That means the Bulldogs are improving to 4-3, and it wouldn't have been possible without Kenyon Garnett's huge throw. This is his first Conference Player of the Week award. I'm pretty proud of him, and we'll see if he can do the same thing versus New Mexico State. I feel like every team in Conference USA is pretty equal to each other besides Liberty, so we shouldn't have many issues, which was great. We ended up blowing them out, and it looks a little bit closer than it was just because they scored a touchdown at the last second. Sure enough, Kenyon Garnett also played well. He had 0 turnovers, so I'm surprised it was freshman receiver John Simon that won Conference Player of the Week. With only 4 matchups left in the season, 3 of them are on the road, and the other one's against number 24 Liberty. But at the moment, if we win out, we are in the Conference USA Conference Championship. There's a chance the tiniest player in the country could actually lead us to that, but he's going to have to be on top of it against Liberty. The issue though is I think he's dealing with his first injury yet, or something's gone completely wrong because he's not on the injury report. I am so confused, but this screen says he is 6 feet tall all of a sudden, and taking another look, he's number 15. That's him out there on the field. Did EA just decide to double his height over the course of a week? That makes no sense. We're not going to take down Liberty. We already knew that, but I'm so much more annoyed because the glitches no longer work, and this player card also says he's 6 feet tall. There is a fix for this. We can still make him as tiny as possible. It did not look like he weighed 347 pounds out there, but it's not going to be as funny as what we got to see for those first few matchups. He's still going to be by far the smallest and the shortest quarterback in the country, but at 5'5", he's going to have a better chance at getting the throws out over the offensive line, and that's what he's done. I'm still going to follow his entire career as the tiniest player in the country, because after this season, I think he's going to transfer for the first time, but maybe he shouldn't. With a minute and a half left, it is looking like we're about to win this game, and there's a wide open receiver. Maybe Louisiana Tech isn't as bad as I was thinking, and there's probably still a Conference USA championship on the line. We'll see if they're able to drive down the field against our defense. That's a good throw, and nobody seems to be able to cover anybody. That kid has breakaway speed. Could someone tackle him? Like, they didn't even make an attempt. That was nuts. It's now Kenyon Garnett's time to shine. He is about to take a sack, but on the run, he completes it. And now that he's a little bit taller, he might be able to have a really good career, or he's still going to throw the ball off of the backs of his offensive linemen. That's not going to happen here. The ball could not be caught, though, so it's 3rd and 10. It looks like they might have to punt it back to Middle Tennessee State, and he's going for a big throw that was on the money. I know it's Conference USA, but for a freshman quarterback, he's had a very good season, especially as a 70 overall. And I'll be very interested to see where he ends up in the transfer portal. At the moment, he's carried Louisiana Tech to 6-4, assuming that's in. And I think going 8-4 would mean a spot in the conference championship. Once again, he has thrown for a ton of yards in this game. And if I'm seriously going to make him transfer, all of these players, especially the gyms I've brought in, aren't really going to matter. If he really wants to get accolades, though, I think it's going to be important. And at the moment, Sam Houston does have the tiebreaker over us. Not only do we have to win out, but we have to hope that they drop one of their final 2 games. And once again, this is looking like a game that Kenyon's going to be able to help us close out as we get into the end zone. Now it's all going to be on our defense to stop Kennesaw State. And they got a sack on 1st down. On 2nd down, they're going to miss the throw. So Louisiana Tech might be able to close out another game as that ball is going to be picked off. And this is how the Bulldogs are going to come out on top. It is a shame that we plan on leaving this program after this season. Garnett has been special for them, and I feel like they've propelled him to have more success than he would have anywhere else. In fact, with the coach points that we have, I think it would be smart to put it into this motivator tab and just fully max out the quarterback tree, plus unlock the tactician one and put some points into these tiers, but we still need some more coach points to max it out. All of that's going to take him from a 70 to a 71 overall. He still hasn't jumped even though he's been playing well. And going into our final matchup against UTEP, where their logo has finally reappeared, we are sitting at 2nd place in our conference, so we're in the conference championship for now. I'm still frustrated that the game wouldn't work at his current height, that it fixed itself. I think EA is just discriminating against short people, but it fixing itself brought UTEP's logo back. It worked, and all of that was for them to lose by 25. It wasn't even close. They let him throw for 5 touchdowns. So sure enough, he's gonna have another chance at taking down Liberty. The Flames are currently in the running for a playoff spot. They didn't lose a single conference game, and they get to host this one as well, but I would love to see our short quarterback pull off the upset. I had no idea that he was going to do this well as a freshman, but it makes me think that he's going to have a really good career. And through the first half of this game, he is Louisiana Tech up 16-10. We'll see if they can finish this drive strong. No, he's going to throw an interception instead, and thankfully it didn't go for a pick 6. That's not what you want to do. He still looks super short. And Liberty ended the first half with a touchdown, so now he's trying to start the 3rd quarter the right way, though that's going to be intercepted too. It is a miracle. With a minute 20 seconds left in this game, it's still a 1-possession one. And this is Kenyon Garnett's chance. He could lead this team down the field, send it to OT, but he is missing that throw. Here on 3rd and 10, he's hitting his flat for nothing. And the game could literally be over right here. Come on, Garnett, you've got to do better than that. He had a good start, but he didn't have what it took to perform in the second half. And it didn't help that the defense gave up this many rushing yards. Kenyon still has a bowl game with this school, but after that, he is going to transfer. And I'm just hoping that he's able to finish strongly with Louisiana Tech. Marshall went 7-5, one worse than us. They're averaging 24 points per game, and they're just a 78 like we are. The All-Americans nominees have come out, and at quarterback in Conference USA, he's not even going to get that. I think that's extremely disrespectful, but you have to factor in that he did throw 16 interceptions. And I now have enough coach points to upgrade him a couple more times in these tiers, so maybe he'll play better in the bowl game. Every single time he transfers, though, I'm going to have to restart with a new random team and a level 1 head coach. So I'm really hoping that that landing spot is good, but it seems like he is going to end his career with Louisiana Tech with a loss, though a touchdown on the final play isn't terrible. That's not enough to come back down 14 though, and the game's been frozen on this, so I can tell this file is going to keep on breaking. We'll just force the loss. It really did not like that he started out as a 3-foot tall player, and maybe he'll end up on a playoff team like Florida, who won it all. Training results are probably going to hugely impact where he's able to end up. We're going to go over to the quarterback room, and he's just a 73. Now, it's no secret he is normal dev, so he's going to have to be fighting throughout all of his career just to keep on improving, but I think we can surround him with a really good team. And it's really just going to come down to if he gets a good landing spot after we encourage him to go somewhere else. This might take a while, but I'm going to have to search through all 134 teams, and eventually I'll find him. Well, I don't know if his situation got any better. He is on the 1-star prestige Ohio Bobcats, and I guess it's time to go join up on that school. I think instead of creating a new coach though, we're just going to rock with our current head coach because he's an architect. And even though he won't be good at recruiting, we might have a better chance at getting some upgrades because he is limitless, which is tier 2. There's a chance to increase a random skill cap every time our quarterback levels up. Since he is normal development, that could help us greatly. Remember, he is also always guaranteed to be the starter. And I'll be doing my best to surround him with talent during recruiting, though we might have to hit the transfer portal again. The grass is not always greener on the other side. Looking at Ohio's school grades, we have definitely downgraded. And there's no guarantees that these 3-star gyms are even going to want to come to this school. It also doesn't help that after we play an FCS school, we are going to have 6 games on the road in a row. And I'm starting to think that Garnett's sophomore year is going to go worse than his freshman one. As bad as this is to say, before we even hop into the first game, if he's able to jump enough up in overalls, we're probably going to just enter the transfer portal again. He should have stayed at Louisiana Tech, but he had an amazing debut versus an FCS school, which doesn't mean that much. At least the win was amazing. Stat-wise, not so much. We definitely ran the ball more. I didn't realize how good we had it with the Bulldogs until now. And there's no way that the Ohio Bobcats are going to compete on the road at Nebraska. We went from doing the blowing to getting blown out ourselves. And 3 interceptions from Kenyon Garnett is not going to cut it. I also feel like I messed up taking over a level 37 head coach because it's going to take forever for him to level up. And I just have to hope that we somehow win this rivalry game. This is the start of MAC conference play for Kenyon Garnett. This is when the games are going to start really mattering. And when you all hear about the lead that has been blown in this game, you're not going to be too happy, but this 3rd and 4 could be picked up. All he has to do is scramble, and he does with his legs. At one point, the Bobcats were up like 24-3, I think, and they've let them come back. But now it is 3rd and 4, and how did it get to 3rd and 4 so quick? The game definitely just skipped over a down, starting us on 2nd and 10 instead of 1st and 10. But I knew this file was going to get a little bit glitchy, and on 4th and 3, the run is short. Miami, Ohio can now win this game by driving down the field versus this Ohio defense. And Kenyon Garnett has signed up for this by transferring here. All he can do is watch from the sidelines. It's raining, the pressure is on, there's about a minute left on the clock at this point, but the 3rd and inches will be converted. And Eddie Escobar is leading the Redhawks down the field. That is a crazy name for a quarterback. That sack is going to hurt them though. They have to spike the ball. And this is what we need out of the Bobcats defense. Please hold them on 3rd and 16. How? There was literally a DB right there trying to pick the ball. Now it's not over. 34 seconds still on the clock, and once again they just missed it. This is the level of talent we have at Ohio. And I feel like I can't make him transfer again because we could just end up somewhere else that's also not good, but giving up that touchdown is a huge deal. It's literally going to leave us with like 20 seconds. And returning the kick's not going to help. We're not getting in field goal range. Kenyon Garnett, it is your time for a miracle. This is going to really put you on the map if you're somehow able to pull this off. That was a good start, but he needs to do it 2 more times. This throw has to get out about now, and it is going to be caught as well. They're running, and that is almost out of bounds. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this field goal would send the game to overtime, and it is going to go in. We have some big moments coming up. And starting on offense is Kenyon Garnett. He's just handed this ball off, which is taken for a 1st down. Now on this next set of downs, he is just going to miss his check down. But somehow throwing the pass over that receiver's head has worked out, and what was that running angle? Our little guy cannot be working with players that can't read a gap. And I feel so invested in this kid's career. As his coach, I need to make sure I set him up for success. I think this could be a lot of fun to do with more prospects on the game as well. I really hope you all want to see something like that. We're giving up a touchdown. And this is an important game to start MAC conference play. What is our defense doing? That's 2 touchdowns in a row. It's a disaster over here at Ohio. They're going for the 2-point conversion in second overtime because they have to, and we can't knock it down. I will admit I have single-handedly ruined this kid's career by having him go here, and we should have just stayed at Louisiana Tech. Here on second down, the check down is going to pick up like 4, but this feels like we're following a real-life quarterback. There's players that enter the transfer portal all the time. Most of them are normally just a little bit taller. 4th and 16, in-state rivalry game on the line. Kenyon Garnett is going to hopefully complete this for a first down, but no, he completes it into the hands of the other team. This has been a disaster for him. I think he has a long sophomore season ahead of him, so he better hope that he's able to start turning things around quick. Even with an easy schedule, I'm not sure if we're going to get like any wins, but I'll be taking that back instantly. They did not blow their lead in this game. South Alabama was just that bad, losing 37-3. Even with an air raid playbook though, it seems like through the air isn't where we're most successful. It's definitely been on the ground instead. And I'm not sure if this new number is serving him too well at the moment. It says he's a 3-star high school rating now. Somehow that is magically changed even though he's been in college the entire time. So add that to the list of things that have been broken. Now we're playing at the factory. Before we see how that goes, I'll also point out that not a single player has committed to Ohio yet, though we're making good work on some of them. And the main issue is some of these hard sells just aren't very convincing with our school grades. By the time all these road games are over, we're going to be well past the midway point in the season. And I really don't feel comfortable that another game is coming down to how the Ohio defense does. If they just never had to close out any games, we'd be 4-1. But instead, it's looking like 2-3 unless they can come up with a clutch stop, and 2 players have sacked him. He basically just got Eiffel Towered, 1 guy on each side of him. I shouldn't have said that. In the light of that saying, they spiked the ball. And we will see if Ohio's defense can step up again. Come on, just get to the quarterback. 3rd and 23 now. This is the defense that we have wanted to see. And it all comes down to this moment right here. Kenyon Garnett watching from the sidelines as they swat it down. It's been a while since we've seen him take a knee. And even though he's no longer as small, it still looks kind of funny. For the first time at Ohio, he's actually one player of the game. And maybe I was judging this Ohio team a little bit too much. Going into this game against Buffalo, they've actually been on a roll. But with a little over a minute left, they find themselves down by 3, so they're going to have to finish off this drive, and that's going to be intercepted instead. Kenyon Garnett just sold the game with that pick. I'm not sure why he threw it in the double coverage, but the defense has all 3 of their timeouts. They could still get it back. So there's still a little bit of hope. They've held them to just 13 points in this game, but it all comes down to this. 3rd and 4, Buffalo is going to run the ball, and we're all over it. Exactly a minute left on the clock now. Their punter seems to have a decent leg as that's going all the way back to the 30, but a return could take this near midfield. And that pointless air truck couldn't have helped us out, but it doesn't matter. We still have a chance. There's an open receiver, and number 1 is gone to the crib. Sisk is only a sophomore, but he was able to break free. And it's like we're always relying on the Ohio defense to finish this game out, which they could have done there. You can't swat that ball down. You have to just go ahead and intercept it. But no, that didn't happen. It is now 3rd and 5. Buffalo refuses to use their timeouts. And I'm still very concerned that they're about to drive down the field against our defense, as that pass is going to take them past midfield. Theoretically, 20 seconds shouldn't be enough time to do this, as a sack is coming up, and that makes me feel a lot better. We'll see what they can come away with. Apparently that receiver has broken free, but there's only 2 plays left in this game. The pressure is really on right now. Please do not get a good throw off. That's going to be dropped. It all comes down to this. I really don't like the press defense. I'm hoping this isn't man-to-man. They almost had somebody open. They couldn't break free on that side, but they caught it. Buffalo's going to crush our dreams on the final play. And there were 2 DBs in the area. They might be the ones that are transferring at the end of the year. We're going to have to encourage them to just get out. And that is such a sad way to lose our second MAC conference game. I'm not saying we deserve to win. Kenyon Garnett did throw 2 interceptions. But for a split second there, I thought our run was going to continue. Now we have to go into Bowling Green sitting at 500. And even though we've already signed a couple commits, to make sure that we get others, I'm scheduling visits during bye weeks because it's impossible to lose during that time. It is my job to surround the tiniest quarterback in the country with the best options possible if we stay at Ohio. And I'm not sure if my heart can take another loss in the final seconds. They're driving down the field, but they don't have much time. Only 14 seconds left on the clock. They dropped that last ball, and they've saved up all their timeouts for this moment. They just tried to beat us off the press. But the same player that gave up the touchdown last week was able to swat that ball away. If he would have missed, he would have definitely been gone at the end of the year. This is just going to the end zone, and no one caught it. That made me nervous right there. But Kenyon Garnett got to kneel it as we get the win. And trust me, he doesn't deserve player of the game. He is playing so much worse here at Ohio. I mean, these stats are atrocious. And we're finally getting to play at home again, but it's against Cal. I'm gonna bring out the black jerseys for this one, but I have a feeling it's not gonna go well. Or maybe it will, and we have to save these jerseys for special occasions. Once again, offense not doing great, but our defense is holding on really well. And it's now 3rd and 19 for Cal. They're playing like they did against Florida State in real life, and I shouldn't have even said anything. The second I started talking crap, they complete a long pass. So now all the pressure is on our quarterback to lead us down the field, and he takes a sack. Kenyon Garnett has got to get that ball out, and I think we just called a timeout for them too, which only helps them because it's 3rd and 12, and we're just gonna hand it off, so we're gonna punt it back to them unless we pick this up somehow. Never mind, Cal is such a smart university in real life, but they didn't use one of their timeouts, so this is one of the final plays. And after what happened against Miami, Ohio, I cannot do another overtime game. Though if they score off of this Hail Mary, I'd be far more upset. Please just swat it. The last time we were in an overtime situation, our defense just didn't show up to stop the run. But on 31 carries, Javian Thomas has 75 yards, so they've done it today. That is nuts to hold a running back to just 2 yards per carry. On 3rd down, though, they complete it. And if I've learned anything from watching this defense, our corners have to get better. That was an insane goal line hold, but I don't think it's going to matter. And we'll see if Kenyon Garnett has gotten any clutcher. He's going to have plenty of time in the pocket, but nowhere to go. At least I've recruited him some better receiving targets. I'm starting to think that we're going to stick around at Ohio. And the reason being is I don't think I can roll the dice again with a transfer. He had somebody, but he put too much zip on that ball. He didn't float it in the air, and on 4th and 5, the chains will be moved. Even if he isn't the best quarterback, he's been a fun little guy to watch throughout his career so far. And I cannot believe that Cal has not ended this game yet. They should have multiple times. This is going to be the 2nd overtime loss for Ohio unless somehow we come up clutch. And this is a legacy moment for Kenyon Garnett. He is going to have to complete this 4th and 5. Instead, he goes down. He looked like a little kid back there just accepting defeat. And I am terrified to look at his season stats at the end of this sophomore year. If anything, I'm going to make sure we get a new offensive coordinator, and there might still be a slight chance we make the conference championship. The only way to do it's winning out, but we're facing off against 4 teams that are under 500 and we get to host them. So maybe, just maybe, that home field advantage will come up clutch. Well, I can't really say this final score surprises me. Ball State is one of the worst teams in the game. But even scoring a lot of points, these stats are just not good. I don't care what it takes, we have got to get this offensive coordinator out of here. And it does make me a little bit sad that there are players that want to transfer out of Ohio. That's been the case all year though. We're now just 1 win away from making a bowl. And the signings continue to come. There's some receivers in here that could really help out this team. What we really need though is just to make sure that we keep on winning. And Kent State is another one of those teams in the MAC that I always consider as one of the worst teams, so I'm not surprised we beat them too. Kenyon Garnett is really holding this team back though, is what it seems like. He threw 2 picks. And at the moment, we are in a 5-way tie for 2nd place in the MAC. We all know there's a lot of mid teams in our conference, though Western Michigan might be the worst. And I knew we had an easy ending to the season, but we still have to play Northern Illinois as well. I figured we might as well bring out the black jerseys again. And playing at home against terrible MAC schools has been very refreshing. But before we finish the rest of his career, a word from today's video sponsor, Prize Picks. College football has been awesome the last few weeks, and if you think you're good at guessing how players will perform, then you might like Prize Picks, where on there you simply pick higher or lower on 2 to 6 players' projections. If anything's carried me recently, it's surprisingly been Iowa's offense. I'm coming off this win as well, so I'll be looking to do that again. And you can play in over 30 states, so there's a good chance yours is eligible. If you want some free cash to start out with on Prize Picks, CodeBoard will get you $50 instantly whenever you play with your first $5 plus lineup. And now it's time to resume the rest of his career. I don't view Ohio in as bad of a light anymore, though I think our quarterback has still continued to struggle. Because as much as we're rooting for the tiniest quarterback in the country, he only attempted 12 passes. That's gonna leave us with one more conference game. We're hosting Northern Illinois, and apparently they're the only other team that's tied with us for 2nd place in the MAC. This is literally it right here. We have to make sure that we continue the winning streak, but that might not happen. With a couple of minutes left, we find ourselves down by 6. I'm not even surprised that Kenyon Garnett's thrown 2 interceptions in this game, but he could still make up for his mistakes. Our running back is going nowhere though. We keep giving it to Ricky Ricky Hunt Jr. though, because he has 217 rushing yards. It's going to be 4th down. And this is a big moment for the Bobcats. Can Kenyon come up clutch for us? He does. Of course, it is Ricky Hunt Jr. that is catching it in the end zone. But this team needed a star. Garnett needed somebody else to feed the ball to. And I'm afraid our defense is not going to be able to stop them from getting into field goal range, as they've already gotten like 30. It has taken them 2 plays to fly down the field. No sack coming right here either. And I think they only need like 10 or 15 more yards, which is very concerning. Ohio has actually started to call timeouts because of this, and it seems like that's going to go out of bounds, which means it is 3rd and 1. They're not going to hand it off. They might attempt a field goal if they don't pick it up, but they do, and that's game. Northern Illinois is just going to run it down, or they're passing the ball instead. I guess they wanted to have a bigger game. And it's a shame that the Bobcats are going to lose after all the effort they put in, though the touchdown would save them. I'm so glad he didn't make that tackle in time. We still have a chance. They're going with Wildcat on the 2-point conversion, and that is not going to get in. So not only does a touchdown win us this game, but it puts us in the MAC championship. The pressure is on for Kenyon Garnett, but he could end up cooking, as he's going to find Sisk on the left side of the field. That's clearly been one of his reliable targets he's hit in the past. He's going to the right side now, but he just missed an open receiver that would have won this the game, and now we're taking drag routes. I mean, Sisk is so quick, he's going to the red zone. This is actually really impressive. We got to get up to the line and spike the ball as soon as possible, but now they're backing their corners off. 16 seconds left on the clock, no timeouts, and that's out of bounds. We basically have 2 shots to the end zone for the MAC championship, at least a spot in there. And come on, Garnett, this is your moment. You might have somebody, if you just get this out in time, where it's going to be deflected. It really hurts to see us lose another game like that. But next season, the turnovers have got to be cut out. Northern Illinois is going to take our spot in the conference championship. And you already know that I had to get rid of our offensive coordinator. Defensively, though, I feel like we were fine, and we're not going to find another coordinator that has all of these things filled up. So we'll see if we can find somebody good to pair him with, and we're playing Louisiana Monroe in our bowl game. I have to check in on Louisiana Tech, though. They made the conference championship again, and they must have lost it. They went 7-6. So their season was pretty much the equivalent of what we had here at Ohio, and I just hope that we don't lose this bowl. Before that, though, it's early National Signing Day. We've signed 11 players. We have star on a receiver, which is the type of dev traits that you want to see. The rest of them seem to be impact, though I did get a star on a cornerback as well. I mean, it's literally on us to build up a good offense around our quarterback. I want to go with the air raid coordinator, but we won't know whether or not we got him until after this game. If there's anything that's sick about playing in this bowl, it is definitely the patches on the jerseys. And it wasn't even close. We won this one 30-10. No exciting finish to see out of Garnett. I wonder if he had a good game. It looks like he did win player of the game. And he still has 2 more seasons in his collegiate career. This year, he got up to a 76 overall. There's still training results coming up. And I'm not going to act like he had a better season than what he did at Louisiana Tech. He still had a ton of interceptions, a lot less passing yards, and rushing wise, he did get some more on the ground. It just seems like the offense isn't centered around him. Louisiana Tech actually wants our head coach. We didn't get the coordinator that we were going after either, so we have to find another one. Joseph Jackson, you also have an air raid attack. And thankfully, Louisiana Tech didn't steal him from us because they were trying to hire him. As you can see with the rest of our season stats, Ricky Hunt Jr. got the ball a ton as our running back. And that means sophomores that were really good like Lennox Sisk couldn't get the ball much. But now I can let you all in on a little secret. I redshirted certain players on this team, including a senior wide receiver, so next season our offense should be even better. In the playoffs, Michigan was able to win another championship, and one player still wants to transfer out. I don't know if he's gonna stay, but he does. As for the players graduating, the wide receiver I redshirted just left. So that's pretty disappointing, especially since not that many prospects really want to transfer to Ohio. In the transfer portal, my only real goal is just signing as many 3-stars as physically possible, and at the end of the period, I think the results are pretty good. There were some lost battles, but we also got some 3-stars to walk on. So at the end of the day, with Ohio, I signed the 43rd best class, which is pretty good. There ended up being a ton of different athletes in here that we're going to be able to move around. Training results are very important for this team. We are going to come in at an 82 overall. That's not too bad for a MAC school. But more importantly, Kenyon Garnett's up to a 77, and that's not great. I know he is normal dev. I know he is super tiny, but I just want him to keep on progressing better, so we're going to have to upgrade our head coach. With 54 coach points, we can max out archetype on the passing game, which is just going to increase the chance at random skill caps leveling up. And then inside our tactician tree, we're just going to make sure that our quarterback is getting as many boosts as possible. I also need to make sure Motivator is maxed out. I want him to develop it as best as he can going into his senior year. So now with all of that taken care of, and then our new offensive coordinator, I think we we could be set up to have a good season. There are a couple players that still want to leave our school, but I can't worry about them. And in fact, I don't want that negative energy around here, so I'm just going to force him out now. If I really wanted to, I could make Kenyon transfer again, but I think we're going to stick at Ohio the rest of this rebuild. By the time I'm done forcing players out, our roster size is down to 82, and it would bump up our team overall to an 84, which compared to the rest of our conference, besides teams like Miami, Ohio, seems to be the best. I'm not sure how true that is, but we do have some players on the preseason All-American list, just not our quarterback. The entire focal point of this video is still a very mid player, but we know that he can get better than what he has been. And just take a look at the projected top 25. We've definitely broken a lot with this file. I'm still devastated that we couldn't keep Kenyon Garnett at 3 feet tall, but we have a goal. See how his career plays out, and going into his junior year, playing at number 2 Ohio State is not going to be a good time. Before that though, we're starting the season at Texas State. They're an 81 overall, and I'm hoping our new offensive coordinator means that we're about to throw this ball a lot more. The first thing we get to watch won't be our offense though, it's going to be our defense, where they are making this throw on the run and getting around midfield. If Texas State scores a touchdown on this drive, we're going to lose to them. And this reminds me so much of last year. It is time for the Ohio Bobcats to step up. They could have gotten a sack right there. Come on, someone bring them down. That was a much needed play. Now it's 3rd and 27. They can take a check down, but they're not getting much. Garnett's just watching from the sidelines, hoping they clutch up on 4th and 19. It looks like pressure's been generated. A throw on the run is going to be swatted into an interception, and the Bobcats are starting 1-0. Scoring 28 points though, a lot of those might have been field goals. And I think that because Kenyon Garnett didn't throw for a touchdown, and then on the ground we only rushed for 1. Kicking 7 field goals in a game and making all 7 of them is actually insane. And that just tells me that it might be another long season for the offense. There needed to be some sort of big rebound against an FCS school, and I think we might have gotten that, winning 41-13. But just 206 passing yards is still very concerning. My last ditch effort is switching to Louisiana Tech's playbook. It is such an oversight that there's not a running and passing slider you can adjust inside the coach's screen. And I'm really hoping that things change against Appalachian State. We have the home field advantage, we have the black jerseys on, and we have a tie game with about 2 minutes left on the clock. The shortest quarterback in the country is just going to hit his flat here, but the screen pass didn't work. On 2nd and 11, he's going to go over the middle of the field, and it is not held on to, which means Kenyon Garnett's going to have a big play on 3rd and long, and it seems like he's just going to fumble it away to App State. Our tiny quarterback is struggling. This could be our first loss of the year, but if that did happen, it's an out-of-conference matchup, so it wouldn't be the end of the world. Defense seems to be holding on tight though. That hit made sure they weren't able to catch that football. They just have to get a sack or bring him down. And the stadium pulse isn't very loud at the moment, but there's still going to be a huge play here. Getting into field goal range again wins this game for Ohio. They're just starting from even farther back this time around. And Kenyon Garnett has thrown for 322 yards, so this is his best game yet. Maybe all we had to do was give him Louisiana Tech's playbook, and that's one of the bigger air raid ones in the game. But this could also be a fluke. He was thrown for almost 500 yards whenever he played for Louisiana Tech, and he just turned it over. You cannot do that right there. All we had to do was get into field goal range. Now App State has their chance. And I feel like we're just watching these two offenses go back and forth, seeing who struggles more. With that sack, the game is now simply going to be headed to overtime. And I don't think he's ever won an overtime game in his career. Kenyon Garnett might have though. I can't exactly remember how last night went. So his first 2 seasons are kind of a blur right now. I've been preparing for a hurricane all day. And that's the one downside of living in Florida. You never know when those are going to come. So far, for getting the ball first, the Bobcats offense looks all right. But going 5 wide on the half-yard line is an interesting choice, and that was the design. You have the smallest player in the country take a direct snap 5 yards back. I think I've seen enough. The Bobcats deserve to lose this game to Appalachian State after that play call. Just give up the touchdown. We all know what the inevitable is unless the defense comes up super clutch, and I suppose they could hold them to a field goal right here. It's 3rd and 5. The drag gets the chains moving though. This is so hard to just watch it all unfold without any control, but I wanted a true sim for how his career could go, and that's why I'm doing it this way. We're just watching together as now it's 3rd and goal. The Mountaineers could end the game right here, but their quarterback almost threw a pick. I wish they held onto that football, but we're going to double OT instead. This is still a big game for Ohio because we're undefeated at the moment. They're about to pick up a first. And we know the Bobcats defense is capable of stopping them, but I don't think that's happening here. Getting the 2-point conversion would be a bigger problem though. Their quarterback's just taking it in. And Kenyon Garnett has been put in a tough situation. Will he be able to come up clutch? It certainly doesn't help whenever your running back can't catch the ball and you throw into double coverage. But maybe things will go differently out of 5 wide, and that isn't happening. Well, this game all comes down to this right here, and that throw is going to be on a flag. So Appalachian State committed PI, and we've been bailed out. Kenyon Garnett has not looked good in this game, though he might have had an open receiver here. And what is he even doing at the moment? He's missed like his last 6 throws, with this one being intercepted. He floated it for too long. That game is fully on him. You can't put the blame on anybody else. And we've made it to the point in his career where he can't be making mistakes like those. I almost feel bad for everybody else because they did their best to keep us in that game. And a second loss is definitely going to be on the way against Ohio State. Even if that is the case, I will say I'm pretty happy with the team's performance. I'm not sure who he was thrown to, but Kenyon Garnett has to know that that's on him. I mean, he's put up 17 points against the #1 team in the country. It's not bad, but we're also about to be 0-2 ever since switching to Louisiana Tech's playbook. I'm going to be super curious to see how that plays out during MAC conference play. Of course, we're going to lose to the Buckeyes, but no interceptions, again, is improvement for Kenyon Garnett. As for recruiting, nothing amazing has really happened yet. I basically just went after 4-stars since they're the only players that could still start for us next year, and it is time to host this conference opener versus Toledo. Now, this year, the schedule does seem a little bit more balanced. Even though we have to play a few road games in a row, we also get to play a few home games, and I feel like that is a big deal. We might have a better chance at making the MAC Conference Championship this time around. Beating Toledo is where that starts, but it'll all come down to if the defense can hold them. And it feels like more often it's been on our defense than our offense. Getting a sack was a possibility, but this kid is super fast. I mean, when it's raining this hard, sometimes taking off is just the better option, but I was not expecting him to look that quick. Now he's going for the end zone, and that's going to be picked off. The Bobcats get the stop. That is exactly what I wanted to see. I'm proud of Ohio. And our best wide receiver as well. He had a pretty solid game. In the process of feeding him the ball, Kenyon Garnett did throw an interception, but that was bound to happen, and Sean Gilliam came on a visit for that game, but still locked us out. This might not be the most enticing place to play, but we're tied for first place in our conference, and that should continue since we're about to play on the road at 0-4 Ball State. An easy win seems to be something that Ohio is incapable of doing, though. They almost took a sack on this 3rd and 7, and instead of kicking 3, Kenyon Garnett's going for it on 4th and 7, where he runs back too far. Ever since then, Ball State's just been trying to run out the clock, but they're not going to be able to unless they pick up this 3rd and long, and that's what they've done. Way to go, Bobcats. You just lost to an 0-4 team. But even though that's a terrible result, Kenyon Garnett is throwing the ball a bit more. If anything, though, I would assume he'd be doing better just because of the receivers he has, but that hasn't been the case. Let's not forget, Ricky Hunt Jr. is also in the backfield, so there's an 88 overall to help out their offense. But that's what makes road games so tough. Stuff like that is bound to happen. They could literally lose to Akron the same way, and I hate to say it, but it wasn't even close. 29-10 means that Ohio has now fallen to 3-4. That means going into next year, there's certain seniors that might not be on the team. And at the moment, the odds of making the MAC Conference Championship are not looking good. I thought we would stick it out at Ohio with Kenyon Garnett, but we might have to make him transfer anyway, unless he's able to come up clutch against Northern Illinois, who ruined last season for us. Well, this team is certainly inconsistent, but getting a win like this is a pretty big deal. It seems like there were a ton of field goals, though, and I'm not sure why we struggle to finish drives so much. Kenyon Garnett's gone back to barely getting any passing yards or stats, but we needed that win pretty badly, so I can't really complain about it. As for recruiting, it should be no surprise that most of the 4-stars chose bigger schools. Only one of them actually wanted to come to Ohio, so we're probably going to be a lot more interested in the transfer portal. We pretty much have to win out this season to make anything special happen, but that was clearly a very weak Bowling Green team that we just faced as we doubled their score, and that's another big win for us. I'm actually starting to enjoy all these games not being as close as the first ones were, because those were stressful to see the ends of, and Central Michigan is our toughest opponent that's left on our schedule. At the moment, they're currently sitting at 2-2 in conference play. They're an 84 overall, and everybody's just as bad as everybody else. Clearly, we're all just beating up on each other. A 3-5, 79 overall Ball State team is on top of the MAC at the moment, but both of these 84 overall rosters are struggling. Inconsistencies are probably why, though. It looks like we have a 3-point lead with about a minute left in this game. We get the sack, and Central Michigan is stuck on a 4th and 21, but even if they don't convert convert here, the game's not over. And what are we doing? How did number 8 miss it? I think I actually have to force him to transfer out. What did I just see? How did we not get an interception right there? This defense is just terrible. I can't be happy with them even if they do stop them. They didn't get anything on first down. They didn't get anything on second down. So now it is third down where their quarterback's going to throw it on the run and they're holding on. Of course, our coverage is blown once again when all we have to do is just cover. And I feel bad for Kenyon Garnett. What is he expected to do in this situation? I guess get us down the field. About 20 seconds and 2 timeouts isn't enough time to really make something happen though. Of course, it's an interception. That's even worse. If there was any hope at making the MAC Conference Championship, that is now gone. But there's only one player to blame. How are we now throwing for 64 yards? We were just throwing for like 300. My disappointment in Kenyon Garnett continues to grow. Maybe he can help us win this rivalry game. And I just hope his senior year goes better than his junior year, even if we're not going to add that many players to the team. Well, with a minute and 11 seconds left, guess who has the ball trailing by 4? Kenyon Garnett fails to improve. I mean, at his height, I never expected him to be great, but I was really hoping with all the help that he was going to have along the way, we could elevate him to another level. I guess that could still happen his senior year. He's not putting together a terrible drive at the moment, but he's thrown 2 picks in this game. And can you imagine trying to throw it when you can't even see over your offensive line? That would probably be pretty tough. Now, that ball almost looked like it was in a perfect spot, but it was dropped at the last second. I saw the drag open over the middle, and that makes this a 4th and manageable. Just 30 seconds left now. Rivalry game on the line. Kenyon Garnett, my bad, completes the pass, and now all he has to do is just spike the ball. Kenyon Garnett is way too similar to Kevin Garnett, though I wouldn't be surprised if I've done that many times in this video and just not caught it. But more importantly, can he please clutch up for Ohio? This is his chance to win the rivalry, become a legend. And instead, it seems like the Redhawks are going to beat him again off of a close game. Though this route's open, and that's going to be a yard short. Just like last season, Miami, Ohio is going to barely survive. And now this game against Western Michigan decides whether or not this team makes a bowl game. We've had a bad season in conference play, but Western Michigan's been even worse. And sim in this game is so weird sometimes because even though we have a much better team than what we had last season, I feel like things have gone so wrong. This game, though, at least went well for the Bobcats, winning 27-14. And it was about time Kenyon Garnett won player of the game again. We have a decision to make though. Do we fire any of these coordinators before going into our final season? If we end up staying here at Ohio, it might make sense to keep these 2 guys around. So that's what we'll do, but transferring still needs to be on the table. It's not like we're about to go out and beat Washington in a bowl game. I just can't imagine that happening. But if it does happen, maybe that's a sign that Ohio could still get better going into next year. 23-0. That is what the score of this game was. And Kenyon Garnett attempted 27 passes while only completing 7 of them. Transferring schools has turned out to be the worst thing he could have ever done for his career. He's taken a step back in QBR rating ever since then, but the turnovers have been cut back. He also ran the ball a little bit less, but maybe that's because we switched up the playbook. And I think I just have to accept that Ohio is going to be more of a running team than a passing team by now. Lennox Sisk is hopefully going to stick around because he almost had 1,000 yards receiving. And I think making the playoffs in our last season is going to be out of reach. There's a lot of good players that are graduating from the Bobcats. We'll have to take a look at the roster without all these guys on it. And it might help if certain players transfer in, like the 32nd best player in the country, but I just don't see that happening. At the end of the day, even with a perfect 3 motivations, there's no way that we're going to get some of these players. And with a class that turned out to only have 5 players in it, maybe changing schools is what we have to do going into a senior year. I guess what it'll really come down to is how much the team has improved or not gone up. Ohio's an 87 overall now. What about our quarterback though? That's what's important, and Garnett's an 83. Now that's probably with some coordinator boost, of course, but for a normal dev player to get up to this, that's fine with me. He still has a lot of room to grow in his senior year as well. And if I really want to help out our team overall, encouraging these players to transfer would do that. Since we've leveled up even more, I also have 41 coach points to spend, which is tough because we could boost a ton of different stats in this Scheme Guru tree. But we should probably go for some of these more basic upgrades like improving our receivers and then even more importantly, improving our cornerbacks, because I am so sick of watching defense and watching them not make the plays that I know they're capable of making. With all of that handled, we're officially an 88 overall, and this is what the wide receiver room is looking like. I feel like we have some good targets, like this player that we recruited for him to throw to. Star dev on both Maurice and Lennox Sisk has made a big difference for our receiving room. I feel like that's why they jumped up a lot. But if we don't end up throwing the ball that much, it's not going to matter, and this is the schedule that the game has gone ahead and generated. I didn't see any ranked opponents, but I'm not expecting this team to make the playoffs. I just want them to win a MAC championship. And if Kenyon Garnett can carry them to do that, I think he would have had a successful career for being the smallest player in the country. Now, Miami, Ohio is our rivals, and we have never taken them down. But he has a real chance to do it right here with 2 minutes left. All it takes is a touchdown, and on the left side of the field, he's found a receiver. Kenyon Garnett's clearly not had a great game if we've only scored 12 points, but that was a good throw. It was needed on 3rd and 10. And I have a feeling that this drive is going to end up going well. After saying that, though, I should probably knock on wood or something. That was not the best run until we cut upfield. And Jamar Brown's made it 2nd and 1. We'll see if we keep it on the ground. That's what we've done. Just pick up the first, buddy. 3rd and inches is a scary spot to be in, especially if this is a quarterback-designed run. Instead, it's a throw, though, and they're not picking it off. Miami, Ohio fans are seeing that they're struggling now, but we did leave them plenty of time to respond back. I'm actually so nervous for our defense right now. This is our chance to start 1-0 against our rivals, but instead they're giving up a huge play. That's already gotten them past midfield, and I have a feeling a touchdown might come. Now it's 2nd and 3. Camera angle completely flipped. They're going to the right side, and they have a touchdown. That is exactly what couldn't happen right there. But all it does is put this game in the hands of Kenyon Garnett, and his first play on this drive goes for 20. That is a solid start. 1 timeout remaining still. This throw to the right side is almost intercepted. You can't be thrown into double coverage like that. I did see a receiver open at the start of this play. Instead, he throws it away. The poor little guy was too short to see it over his offensive line. I'm hoping he can read the defense on this one. And that's caught. It is not over yet. There is still about 36 seconds left. But Kenyon Garnett's going to have to start making some bigger plays down the field. That's going to burn the Bobcats' final timeout. It is now 3rd and 16. They are not pressing at all. And that was an impressive deflection from the Redhawks. This is it right here. Will we pick up the first down? And we have, going all the way to the 22. All right, I'm not sure if the clock stopped or not. You probably have to get up to the line and spike the ball if he did not get out of bounds. And you have 3 shots to the end zone. Can Ohio pull this off? Come on, Garnett. Make a read. Make a play to the crib. It might not have been open, but I like it. He's trying to get us a touchdown. Here, on the next play, he has all the time in the world to find a receiver open. Come on. Just get it out to someone, and that is going to be caught. Ohio is not going to lose to Miami, Ohio this year, and it is all because Kenyon Garnett just came up clutch for us. It feels good to finally see them win the battle of the bricks, and what a start to the season for him, even if he only completed 50% of his passes. I was fully prepared for a heartbreaking result. Now it's time to play another rival, Marshall, and this one's on the road, but we've started the season strong, and they have a sold-out crowd. This one probably should have gone like last week, but instead we blew them out 38-10, so maybe their team wasn't as good as it was saying it was, because they did not play like an 83 overall. We're taking all the rivalry trophies. Now, Jamar Brown won player of the game. It didn't go to our quarterback, but that's because Kenyon Garnett was due for a turnover. He threw an interception. Luckily for him, though, the matchup's going to get easier the following week because we're playing an FCS school. Sometimes I'm just very confused by the results that we get, but a win is a win, and once again, Jamar Brown carried us there. What scares me, though, is Kenyon Garnett is injured. Oh my gosh. I forgot that that could even happen. He's out for 22 games? Do you know how sad I am right now? I wanted to see how his career played out as a senior. Instead, we're losing the tiniest quarterback. I mean, it makes sense. The kid is tiny. But this is what his final stats are going to end up looking like. His best season was when he was like 3 feet tall and at Louisiana Tech. I'm so disappointed. Now, either way, I am curious to see how this Ohio team season plays out as an 88 overall. But it defeats the purpose of the video when 6'4" Ben Jewell takes over instead of what we had. What it does seem like, though, is with a new quarterback, the team's playing a lot better. And don't tell me all along the real issue was the fact that we had a dude that was 5'5". I wanted to play the career of the tiniest player. I'm just going to sim to the end of this season, see if we're able to make it to the MAC Conference Championship. And if so, great, but I'm still so disappointed that he just got hurt. What's crazy to me is even by Conference Championship week, he is the only player on this roster that got injured. And there's no fixing Kenyon Garnett. He's still out for 10 more weeks. What you might have noticed, though, is we went 10-2. We're considered a top 25 team, with a loss to number 10 Central Michigan and of course to Ball State, who's 3-9. Now what that means is we're in the conference championship because we had a win over Kent State. We had the tiebreaker. And I don't think this is how the season would have played out if we were still using the really short quarterback, but I'm curious to see if we win this game. Just for a reference, Ben Jewell's already thrown for more passing yards than we did last year, with a lot more touchdowns as well. And that's with like 3 or 4 less games played, so if we have learned anything throughout this player career sim or whatever, I think I can confidently say size matters on College Football 25. Despite being a lower overall player, Ben had an extra foot of height, and I think it caused him to play better. But more importantly, Ohio at the moment has a chance to win the MAC Conference Championship because they're up by 4 points. There's only about a minute 18 seconds left now. Central Michigan on 3rd and 4 just throws it deep, and the defense is getting burnt. What did we expect? Now we have to watch our 6'4" quarterback take over. And this is so disappointing, but at the end of the day, I'm just proud of Ohio for making it here. Now, in an ideal world, in this MAC championship, we would still have like the 2-foot tall QB back there. But obviously, like halfway through his first year, he glitched up to being at least 5'5", which is still short. But it doesn't look as funky, and now we've gone to a guy that's even taller. If somebody watched the first game and then skipped to the end of this video, they're probably so confused. But the simple explanation is injuries happened and Ben throws it away. I just feel obligated to root for Ohio here because of the 3 years we spent with them. And I can imagine that being Kenyon Garnett in the position right now, even if he's not. 37 seconds left on the clock. Handing it off does pick up the first down. And I just realized we wouldn't be in this game without Garnett. He clutched up at the end of that game versus Miami, Ohio, but we're running the ball and settling for overtime. This makes no sense at all. I don't know why Ohio would do it. I guess they feel pretty comfortable in just going to extra time. And we'll see how it plays out. 1st and 10, they get the ball first, where Central Michigan is going to pretty much just reach the end zone. Come on, Ohio, you've got to get a goal line stand here. You got to send like 10 players at number 23. That didn't happen though, so we're back to cheering on Ben, and he is going to get us close to the end zone. Ideally, after scoring, the Bobcats would be aggressive and go for the 2-point conversion, especially since I set the coach too aggressive, but that's probably not going to make any difference at all. I just wish you could customize coaches a little bit more. And after going nowhere on 1st down, it is 2nd and 11. Come on, we have got to get another touchdown. That throw is going to take us down to the 1. Leave it up to Ben to potentially win the first overtime game we've seen with the Bobcats, at least that I can remember, and this is kind of ruining everything that we did with Garnett. Never mind, Ben is finding a way to mess things up. On 3rd and goal, he's about to take a sack. So all we're able to do here is settle for 3. If I've learned anything in watching Bobcat football over the few seasons we have, they're pretty good at finding ways to lose games, and what is Central Michigan doing just running it over and over? I feel like they're about to do it 3 straight times, like they're content for getting a field goal themselves, but the running lane is open. That's gonna do it. Ohio loses another heartbreaker in overtime. And it doesn't matter whether the quarterback's 2 feet tall, 5 feet tall, 6'4". This program was never meant to be more than average. I decided to just sim our bowl game, but this screen doesn't even show it on our schedule. So I had to find it right here. We beat Louisiana 57-14. As for the playoffs, Central Michigan beat Georgia, they beat Oregon, but they lost to North Carolina in the semis. And again, I feel comfortable in saying that size does matter on College Football 25. It would have been nice to also have a red shirt available, but in order to get him to transfer off of the original team, I had to burn through 1 season. So it sucks to see how his career ended, but we got to see him at his smallest, we got to see him at his 2nd smallest, and these are his final stats. It's kind of crazy that he was able to rush for over 1,000 yards even at that size. And I'm not sure if the final season would have gone as well as it did if he was still the starter, but I'd like to think that it would have. That was a journey, and it was a fun one too, so if you enjoyed this video, you made it this far, make sure to hit the like button and also check out some of my other content.